Hey, Webbers! I'm about to go live with 117 Entertainment and Zach Farnum. It's Friday night, and we're hanging at home and working through our technical things on Instagram. Hope you guys are having a good time, and thanks for watching the playback if you're not here live. And thanks for everybody that's tuning in already. That's pretty cool. Just a couple things I want to check first. So, hope you guys are having a good day. I had a pretty good day for being Friday. Okay, here I'm finding. I think we're ready. At least I didn't really have to work today. Give me just a second. I've got to find where we're going. If you're on Instagram, you can check me out on James Robert Webb. It's all one word. And I'm looking for my buddy Zach. Zach says he's on, but it's not showing him as live. There we go.
All right. Alcohol time. Yes, you're right. It is 6:04. Theoretically alcohol time, but I've not done that yet today. Last night maybe.
Alcohol you later.
Which made this morning hard. And it was an album release day this morning, so that was.
Here's Mr. Bobby Bear. Congratulations on release day.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.
I'm drinking water. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Baptist vodka. It's water. Yeah.
Nice.
Trying to stay hydrated. Good. How are you doing, man?
I'm great. It was a busy day, but
hey. I'm hanging at home. You can see I'm keeping it real because I so eloquently have my trash can behind me right here. So you know we're tidying up at least.
I don't think I would have noticed it if you didn't tell me.
I just had to point out that I'm just, a regular guy, I guess. Here. Is that better? Yeah, I'm in my studio. I mean, here's my my baby grand over here, my piano and all our other accoutrements. Yeah. Man.
Nice.
So you've had a busy day.
It has been a busy day. We released Bobby Bear's long-awaited album, 42 years in the making, and
better be pretty good.
For a year and a half, and it's been driving me nuts. So I'm glad to finally have it out. We've gotten some pretty good press on it, and up next is yours. Now we're clear, and your album's in a couple weeks.
That's right. 2 weeks away after all this anticipation and moving and things like that. But it's been good.
Man, how many times have we moved it?
I don't know. Like total, and like 30 times. I don't know. I'm just teasing. Well, we had, I've held on to it for a while because Buddy Cannon produced it, and it's a great album and some great songs, and I just wanted to make sure we had our team and everybody in place before we put it out there, and so I've had it for over a year, ready to go, just kind of waiting for the timing to be right. But
when did you guys cut it? I don't think I've ever asked that.
Gosh, we cut some in late 2018 and last April. I think we're done by April. Yeah. So it's been about it's about a year old now, which is pretty typical for for a lot of releases.
That's
traditionally.
42 years.
42. I always had to say this if my wife is watching, because my wife Tiffany forever thought Bobby Bear, she thought it was Bob Iber, like it was a Spanish name or something. Thing growing up, in Texas. But I mean, that kind of I can see. There's so many like Texas and Oklahoma. There's so much like norteño and Mexican influence and everything in music. I can get that.
That's hilarious.
That's cool.
You want to play a song?
Sure. No, I hate.
Album?
Off of Bobby's new album? Yeah.
Off of your new album.
You want me to cover Bobby? What's it called? And I'll make it up as I go. That's right, exactly. Wherever all the armadillo's gone. That sounds interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, gosh, the great thing about this album is it's 13 tracks. I mean, great songs and there's a lot to pick from. But let's start out with like the first single. How about that one? Now we're getting somewhere.
Who wrote it? how much radio promotion you do. It's great.
Yeah, we've had pretty great luck for being an independent artist and not being, not having millions of dollars of major label money behind us yet. We've done pretty well. This was top, was it 24 on Music Row, I think, which is pretty hard. I mean, there's not a lot of independent artists that are even the top 30 on Music Row, so that was good. I think we're in the 50s, like 40 something, like 43 or 44, I think, on Billboard. So that's pretty cool. But the other thing on Spotify, I think we're like at 130,000 streams or something crazy. It's just pretty cool to think about that. I mean, just kind of like look at my old catalog of songs before, and like that song had more spins than my entire catalog before, which is pretty cool. So it's also kind of sad, but it's all it also speaks. It's a great song.
It's a good introduction to the new chapter.
Absolutely, and that's why we chose to call this album James Robert Webb, because it's really this is the first album where I've kind of been all completely in my voice and found my voice as a singer, and plus great production and just A-listers on the album. It's just great. And
have I ever told you the first record I ever bought on my own accord was No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problem, Buddy Cannon, produced for Kenny Chesney?
That's a great, yeah.
And since then, Buddy's become our good friend, Bobby Bear, because he and Bear are really close, and he's just the coolest dude. I mean, talk about different chapters. He's just like been relevant since like the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, he played bass for Metal Tillis back in the days, and him and Bobby, and it's been crazy. I mean, there's a song like on that Alabama. What's that Alabama album? I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the song. He's had cuts by Alabama, a lot of as a writer, and George Strait, and Song of the Year, and
Vern Gosdin, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
Set 'Em Up Go is one of the coolest songs, and obviously Trisha Yearwood then had another hit on it in the 90s, but it's a great song.
Some good stuff. I don't think is there a Buddy Cannon song on this album? We've written a couple of times, and there was a Buddy Cannon song that was almost on this album that Buddy Cannon and Dean Dillon wrote. I'm trying to think who the third was. Was it Daryl Dotson? Called Her. And it's the first song that I was going to cut that I had cut out from underneath me. So, which was pretty cool. I mean, it sucked, but it was kind of a cool story because Randy Rogers and Wade Bowen cut the song. So it's a very kind of tongue-in-cheek funny. So it's called Her, H-E-R, and that's on the not to promote Randy Rogers and Wade Bowen's Hold My Beer Volume 2, but that one's coming out soon. I think it's like number 10 or something on there. I'm waiting to hear their version of it. But
they just released a single today.
Yeah, they released a new one. I got the notification on my phone, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to finally hear their studio version. It was just another single. But I think my favorite one I've heard so far on that is Rodeo Clown. You heard that one? It's like, she left me for a rodeo clown. That was the biggest indignity, that not only she leave me, she left me for a rodeo clown. Yeah, it's pretty funny song. Yeah, which is the whole album is probably like that.
You did have a song, at least one song, on this album from Buddy's daughter Marla, right?
Marla, yeah, a song called "Stealing Home." So Marla and Don Sampson and Casey Beathard wrote that song. So that's a cool song too. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. So the one we were gonna say, now we're getting somewhere, is now it's all really cool because Cody Johnson is saying he'll only write with people that had hits in the 90s, right? And it's a big deal. And before Cody Johnson was doing that, we had this song that Buddy had in his drawer for like 20 years. Because I'm a big 90s country fan, and radio is not very friendly to that, and that's okay. So we've been pretty lucky because of that fact, that they only, radio wants to do a bunch of, hey girl, shake it on the tailgate stuff, which everybody's sick of. So we try to find things that are different that are fit in with the mix of current, radio. So.
And it's cool that radio's been responsive to
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very grateful, and I think it's, the trick is trying to find something that sounds modern and yet if you're trying to do traditional country, that still kind of tips the hat to the genre, you know, instead of trying to get like a Little Wayne to feature on it.
Like mix it up when you do
Yeah.
full length album like this, so where you can put like a Tulsa Time swing version.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's one of the things I always try to do when I'm writing, and especially on albums when I look at songs, is I try to show like a breadth and I don't know how eclectic I am, because I like rock, I like I like hip hop. I just don't like what I would call the crappy hip hop that gets on the radio, on country radio. It's like hip hop that wouldn't make it on like on an R&B station, But
play the first single.
Yeah, so this is a song called "Now We're Getting Somewhere." When I first got the word that I was going to work with Buddy, I just had this feeling come over. He's going to have a couple of songs that he's probably had for a while, and this is one that he played for everybody. He said he'd work with us, so he played it for Kenny Chesney and Willie Nelson and whoever. But this was written by Shawn Kemp, Taylor Dunn, and Wynn Varble. Each of those are like individually have like songs of mine are like some of my favorite songs. So just huge writers. If you don't know those guys, go look them up. But here's one a throwback from the 90s. It's brand new. It's called "Now We're Getting Somewhere." We've been riding around for hours, been through town about a dozen times. Now we're parked up here beneath the radio tower, and you finally put your hand in mine. Now we're getting somewhere, just sitting underneath the stars. I was getting worried for a minute there, afraid I wouldn't get to your heart. 'Cause girl, you've been driving me crazy, keeping me spinning like a wheel in the mud. But now we're getting somewhere, and it looks like we're headed for love, yeah. Our little hometown is lit up like Vegas. Lots of things that we can go and do down there, but there ain't no telling where our hearts might take us if we hold on tight and just stay right here. 'Cause now we're getting somewhere, just sitting underneath the stars. Yeah, I was getting worried for a minute there, afraid I wouldn't get to your heart. 'Cause girl, you've been driving me crazy, you're keeping me spinning like a wheel in the mud. But now we're getting somewhere, and it looks like we're headed for love, yeah. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere, and it looks like we're headed for love. That's a fun song, right?
Yeah. That song is super fun. I love jamming to that. If anybody hasn't heard that yet, that's available on all the DSPs, Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Amazon, all of that.
Tidal. If you're a Deezer person or Napster, it's on all those. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, thanks. It's a fiddle-driven song on the album. So here I'm like playing my Willie Nelson guitar today, like a nylon. So
love it.
It's easier on the fingers.
I didn't realize you could share photos and video on.
Oh, I didn't either.
Lives.
How do you do that? I'm like all learning kind of.
I don't know if you can do it as a guest, but there's a little button to the right.
Okay.
You can open your photo gallery and it'll.
That's weird. Yeah. I had to take some more drugs. I have to be like, there you go. We're gonna do some 9 Inch Nails covers, y'all. Come on.
All right, I have a couple of quarantine questions I gotta ask.
Okay.
First of all, who you quarantined with? Your wife and kids, right?
I am. That's right. Miss Tiffany
How many
Webb.
kids here?
I have three that we know of. And my wife, yeah.
So
that's enough. Like if you what's that episode of The Office where they're talking about where it's Angela and Pam and Oscar in the same room, and Oscar's trying to compare having a dog to kids, and they're like going, wait till you get two, and like you don't want three dogs. They gotta be outside if you got three dogs.
Yeah, that's funny. I love The Office. I've binge watched like the entire thing at least 3 times, I think.
I'm pretty sure my wife has watched the entire thing 3 times today.
No, that's funny. I don't know if you can see the comments, but somebody said 3 is more than enough.
That's right.
Danger Darwin said hello, hello.
Hey, Danger Darwin.
My mother said you look too young for 3 kids. Thanks, Mom.
We started young.
Thanks, Roland.
Yes, thanks, Mom. That's very sweet of y'all. You gotta scroll. Hey. Yeah, thanks for everybody that's watching. Me and Zach are just hanging out talking and singing, and I forget that everybody else is here. It's alcohol time. Absolutely. That's right. What else are we gonna do?
Exactly. Well, you have a lot to do because you're a doctor, so you are a essential worker. So you've still been working through all this.
I have been. Yeah.
What kind of doctor sage advice do you have for the world in the midst of all this? I know I've been turning to you with a lot of questions in the last month, but share it with our audience.
Well, this virus is good and bad. I mean, it's wrecked the economy. I mean, our response to it has wrecked the economy, unfortunately. It's probably overkill, I think, looking back, but you don't know that going in, and that's the problem. And it has kind of, I think at this point we have kind of realized. I mean, I think there's some good things that have come out of this as a country for the U.S. at least, that we realize that we are really dependent on overseas production on a lot of stuff. Like in emergencies like this, most of the medicines we give in the hospital and like all medicines we give like for sedation and stuff are made like in China and overseas. So if we're out of that and we're dependent on production somewhere else, we're kind of screwed at that point. So it's not that we want to be we don't want to go back to being completely isolationist, but we do need to like look at timelines of supply chains and stuff like that, from production side. And like my dad said, well, the American worker has been saying that since the 70s, that we're sending everything overseas, and that's true because a lot of these factories that have closed and everything. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if we see a lot of people wanting to try to bring stuff back to America on that side. I don't know about the response with who. There's been so much misinformation and people going back and forth, and it's always easy to get things mixed up. But when you got a 24-hour news cycle and everybody's talking 24/7 on all the big news stations, and there's information that's changing daily, it's hard for people to keep up, and for them, and they're doing the best that they can, but they're dealing with changing information. I think at this point, though, it looks like in the U.S., hopefully we're either peaked or close to the peak. And the whole point of social distancing and trying to quarantine is to try to prevent the spread to more vulnerable populations. Like people over 65 are generally more likely to die or have significant complications from a virus like this. People who are immune compromised, people with cancer that are on chemotherapy and stuff like that. So far, it looks like our the rate how many people die that compared to what get the virus in the United States is pretty low compared to the rest of the world. In fact, it looks like it's the lowest in the world if you look at the trend lines right now. And we're probably underdiagnosing it because there's been a lot of complaints about people not getting enough tests, like especially early on. So the fact that the death rates aren't really, it's not really, when you compare it to the flu, I mean, we haven't had as many people die at this point from this, but like half of, I think, of what people die from the flu every year in just the United States. So it's kind of blown out of proportion on that side because we don't ever, shut the government down and keep people in their houses because of the flu, even though it's widespread, right? I think it was more of an issue of not really knowing exactly what was going on with this because it's very contagious. It's probably more, it's contagious as the flu, but it's not as deadly as, say, like Ebola, right?
Right.
So, you know, if someday Ebola ends up, or something like that spreads, it could really kill a lot of people, regardless of age, you know. But
Yeah.
that's the 20-minute lecture, it felt like there. Does anybody have questions? Are there some questions? Because on that,
My mother asked what kind of doctor you are.
a really good one.
That's true.
And a tall one. I'm 6'5", so I'm a musculoskeletal interventional radiologist. So most people that do what I do read knee and hip MRI all day, but my practice is like 95% clinical. I mostly treat patients with osteoporosis and help people that have had back surgery and still have back pain or want to avoid surgery.
In Tulsa.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's right. Yeah.
Speaking of, talk about that hat you're
Oh
wearing.
yeah. So this is a Okie. If you can see, that's an Okie hat. That's from a company, Midwest Okies. I don't wear a lot of hats, you know, because I've been advised. I mean, my hair's all messed up, you know, right now because of COVID and haven't wearing the hat. But you know, I've been advised. Well, you've got good hair, James. You don't need to wear a hat. And I don't like how I look in most hats, but I do like these hats. So I've gotten kind of into wearing them. And actually, now I'm a brand ambassador for Midwest Okies. So yeah, that's right. So actually, so if you like this hat, they've got a bunch of different ones. This is a little bit more modern, like Kane Brown kind of hat, but they've got the whole gamut of kind of stuff. If you go to MidwestOkies.com, and so if you find one you want at checkout, you can use James Robert Webb for the code, and I think they get 15% off or something. So that all goes to all the savings go to whoever buys it. I don't get a cut of that. They just send me a free hat every once in a while.
That's awesome.
But it's really good right now for COVID. You know, not the hair people not being. I mean, who decided that supercuts is not an essential business?
I know, right? Look at my hair.
We're all gonna be running around looking like the Abbott brothers in a month or so.
I have my beard down to like here,
Yeah.
but I was trimming it up and I cut it too close and I just decided to cut the whole thing.
Well, I go back and forth. You know, I usually keep my beard pretty short, but I've grown out a little bit and then just kind of trim it on the bottom. But because who did I see the other day? Like Waylon Jennings' beard, like in the 80s. I was like, his is longer, but it doesn't look like, a moonshiner beard, But
right.
Anyway, change it up a little bit.
Like Kenny Chesney, the Kenny Rogers 1980.
Oh yeah, man. Especially when you start going gray, man. That's right. That Kenny Chesney's or Kenny Chesney. I did the same thing. The Kenny Rogers beard. I mean, may rest in heaven. Kenny's so amazing. Kind of crazy to think he's gone.
Kenny was the coolest. Kenny was the coolest guy. He just was what he did for country music aside, and his music aside, he was just the best guy. Like he was kind. He cared about everybody. He never elevated himself to, like some artists do. They just put themselves up here. He never did that. He was always right here with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very cool.
He always seemed very down to earth. I never met Kenny or got to work with him, but I mean, people forget he was like a big rock star before he started doing country.
Oh yeah, the first edition, and even prior to the first edition. He played bass on Mickey Gilley's very first single in Houston, Texas.
Oh yeah.
Like 1967.
Yeah. It's hard to think of somebody from the rock world that's been so successful in country other than, I'd say like Darius Rucker probably. And, Hootie and the Blowfish was huge. And that's about the only, there's been a lot of people in rock that have come and done country albums, but nobody's, really been as successful as Kenny.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It was very interesting how Kenny jumped from genres. And I think that's very, it's hard to do. It's hard to navigate from an industry standpoint. Just to get everybody on your team behind that kind of change. Yeah. But then
because like the managers and the PR people and the radio people are all working with country, people in the country industry, and they don't, right. Yeah.
Like, I don't think Kenny Rogers. I don't think he could have done what he did right now. Which is really sad because good music is good music, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I try to focus on because my background and musical tastes are so eclectic. I mean, when I think of records, I might like a lot of Dr. Dre, Andre Young stuff. Uh, I might put a lot of those recordings like up with say Garth Brooks because just the records are so. What I mean is that like the recordings are so great and they sound so good on the in your truck. So uh, to me, it's either good music or bad music, or I don't want to say bad music, but it's just like it's either got that je ne sais quoi or whatever. That certain thing that makes it great. Just like that. What's that song that Miranda Lambert and Kaylee Hammack and all those everybody did the Elvin Bishop song, "Fooled Around and Fell in Love." I mean that's such a great song on so many levels. But that recording of his is just just such a classic, and there's certain songs that transcend genres too. In artists like another good example would be that Queen song "Crazy Little Thing Called Love," right? That sounds like an old '60s kind of thing, but it's just you set that up against other Queen songs, it's like it sounds like a cover, but it was just and then you have people like Dwight Yoakam and everybody covering it and making it sound different. My hope is to write songs that transcend genres. Anyway,
look at Buck Owens writing
right.
a beat song, and then having Dwight Yoakam take his songs and reinvent them. You know? It's really
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Let's play another song off the record. How about one that's not released yet?
All right. How about a kind of a slowy one? This is one that I wrote with my friend Alex Dooley and Daniel Kleindienst at Banner Music. Shout out to Banner Music if you guys are watching. Down on Music Row in Nashville, and I had this idea because there's plenty of love songs, and I love you, and like you think of most songs are about love, a lot of them are, but there's not really a lot of songs about. Well, I think this is a different take. This is the song's called "I Love You and Me," so it's kind of like I love us kind of thing. So anyway, I botched the intro, I guess, but I'll figure out how to explain that better. I just have to sing it so you can get it. I like water tanks, river banks, sweet iced tea, fishing holes, old John boats, and football on TV. I like my better boots, my southern roots, and the crock pot full of beans. But I love you and me. I like a summer day, the smell of hay, fresh cut in the field. Hollow trees, a buzzing bees, and the call of a whippoorwill. Old church pews, honeydews, and a cool evening breeze. But I love you and me. I don't understand it, I never planned it, but God took a leap of faith and look where we landed. Gonna take my knife and carve our names in that old hickory tree, because I love you and me. The good Lord gave me more than I deserve. I don't understand it, I never planned it. Girl, we took a leap of faith and look where we landed. We're gonna take my knife and carve our names in that old hickory tree, because I love me. I like water tanks, river banks, and hopping on Zach Farnum's IGTV. Shameless plug for Zach.
I love it. It's weird being the only person that can applaud after a song. I know everybody's applauding at their own.
Exactly. That's right. Every time there's a chord change, take a drink. That's the song. That's the game we can do here.
There we go. I'm out of drink. I need to get more. All right, let me run through a couple quarantine questions.
All right.
And you just tell me. So these are all what you've been doing during quarantine. Wait, have you watched any TV shows? What kind of TV shows you been watching?
Let's see. I think my favorite show on TV of anything right now is probably Westworld on HBO. You ever seen that?
Good things. You're the second or third person to say that.
Well, it's the third season. It's kind of like Jurassic Park if it was like androids instead of dinosaurs. Basically, it was the first season, and the crazy old man was played by Anthony Hopkins. So it's got an amazing cast, and Evan Rachel Wood is like the main character. And in the new season, Aaron Paul, who was Jesse Pinkerton in Breaking Bad, is playing like the lead, one of the leads in it. So it's pretty cool. It's hard for a serious sci-fi series like that to reinvent itself, but they've done a good job every season of reinventing what they're doing, which is pretty cool. So, and
what
platform
is it on?
It's on HBO. So. And you can do HBO Now or whatever. That's what I usually watch it on. And then The Watchmen was the last thing I watched on HBO, which is based on the old comic book. But their reboot of the series is actually based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like 20 years in the future or something, which is kind of interesting. But then I finally started watching the Ozark because everybody's watching Ozark on Netflix.
Yeah.
But I finally started watching the second season.
You didn't watch the first season?
I watched the first season, but the third season just came out, but I never watched the second season.
Oh, okay. I haven't even watched the first season. So.
Yeah. Oh, the first season, yeah. I mean, it's great, and the acting is tremendous. I mean, just a great Jason Bateman and Laura Dern, and I remember who plays Ruth. It's just some great acting, but I don't know. It's plus or minus. It's good. And then I think the surprise hit, I think, for everybody was Tiger King. Especially being from Oklahoma. I mean, we got to claim him. I mean, get that guy an Okie hat.
You know that guy? Was he one of your patients?
No, not yet. Not that I knew of. The funny thing is, in the Tulsa area, there was so the guy that's on Tiger King is from Wynnewood, which is kind of south central Oklahoma, like south of Oklahoma City, Norman area, and there was another guy, and my dad and me both always thought that when they were talking about this, we were talking about the guy that's in the Tulsa area, because he had another zoo that was kind of by my parents' house off of Highway 66, and he ended up, that guy's Safari Joe, and he ended up buying like the big water park in Tulsa, which is still open, but apparently he's not nearly as crazy, and he wasn't, they talk about these different places around, but tiger zoos or whatever, cat zoos and things, but they don't mention him in this documentary, I guess. But yeah, I mean, every time that comes on, I love that. I want it as a ringtone, the default thing that comes on when Netflix brings it up and does the autoplay thing. He's like, "This is my way of living, and there ain't nobody can tell me otherwise." I just love it. That's because it's a great Okie accent.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that thing really put Oklahoma on the map.
That's right. Infamous in an infamous way. Yeah.
The funniest thing, not to keep going back to Bobby Bear, but the funniest thing to come out of all that was I made a little meme about it because Bobby Bear has a song called The Winner, and in The Winner, written by Shel Silverstein, there's a lyric that's like, Tiger King, you're a pussycat, let's go outside and see who's the winner. So I made a meme of that,
That's funny.
and I sent it to him, and he binge watched the whole thing. I expected him to say, what the hell is this? And he laughed his butt off.
Oh, I'm sure.
This thing is crazy. So an 85-year-old man
That's hilarious, man. That's awesome. Well, I mean, for the stories I've heard about Bobby Bear and everything, like on Tales, is it Tales from the Trailer Park, or is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, or from the tour bus, Tales from the Tour Bus. Sorry.
Tales from the tour bus.
Yeah, I would see how he seems like he had a really good sense of humor, or like when I say really good sense of humor, I mean like a really severely twisted sense of humor like me. So yeah, maybe a little something wrong. What? So this album is all Shel Silverstein songs, right? Yeah. So I love Shel. People don't. So Shel Silverstein, may be best known for like writing all the children's book, like The Giving Tree and Where the Sidewalk Ends. But he was a huge freaking songwriter, and like a lot of people may not know it, but like Johnny Cash, A Boy Named Sue, was written by Shel Silverstein. Ironically, however, Shel Silverstein did not write the song by George Strait, Where the Sidewalk Ends, nor did he get songwriting credit, which I don't get. Yeah.
Shel also wrote for Playboy magazine. Did you know that?
Yeah, you're right. So there was some Netflix thing I remember some time ago. Is it America's Book of Secrets, where there's a thing on the Playboy Mansion is one of the episodes, and they're talking about Shel Silverstein, and Shel Silverstein's in it out there. So yeah, he used to write it like a column or something, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and he lived at the Playboy Mansion for quite a while.
Yeah.
Shel was a really eccentric guy, but he and Bear became really, really good friends because Bear was wanting to cut a concept album.
Yeah.
In like the early 70s, I think, and he was at a event at Chet Atkins' place, and he was asking every one of the songwriters there, Harlan Howard, Bob McDill, everybody, I want somebody to write me a concept album, and nobody would, or nobody knew how to do that or could figure it out. And Shel was like, I got one for you. Or Shel called him a couple days later, and Shel was in Chicago, and Shel had been at this party, and Shel called him and said, I got your album ready to go. And Bear said, well, when can you come down? He said, I'll be down tomorrow. And he came and he pitched Bear Lullabies, Legends, and Lies. And in 1973, I think it was, RCA released the first really big country concept album.
Yeah.
Bobby Bear sings Lullabies, Legends, and Lies.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
they went on to do like 6 or 7 or 8 albums, full albums together. They cut over 100 songs together.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen to that catalog because I think so.
Well, I'm making a playlist on Spotify, on Bobby Bear's Spotify, of all the Shel Silverstein cuts. But
so everybody should go follow that right now while we're doing it.
Yes, please do. There's this. He had a big hit on Marie Laveau. You know that song? You know the witches scream in that? Another man done gone, and the witch screams.
Yeah.
That's Shel screaming.
That's Shel scream. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, his music publishing company, his personal music publishing company was Evil Eye Music, and a lot of people thought he was just so good. I've had multiple people in Nashville tell me the story. Like the first was Brian Fisher, who was a producer who's just passed away, who probably best known. He did a lot of Christian stuff and produced the Kindles, like Heaven's Just a Sin Away. And he knew Shel really well. And then I have a friend, Steve O'Brien, who writes a lot of stuff. But maybe like the first thing I knew was "Rock My World, Little Country Girl" by Brooks and Dunn, for example. But everybody just say Shel was just insanely talented, and everybody thought he made a deal with the devil.
He couldn't sing for shit though. Bear will tell everybody.
Yeah.
He couldn't sing. His singing was a lot like that scream. That was just
right.
Well,
he could have been, he could have like played, sang for System of a Down or somebody just ahead of his time.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Oh, funny stuff.
Disorder, disorder, disorder.
Love it. Hey, you need to play. I won't make you do it now, but you need to play more of the piano on because you're a great piano player. That's what I don't think enough people know is that weren't you a piano? You had a piano scholarship, or you were gonna go into?
Yeah, I was an all-state jazz piano for Oklahoma. So when I was in high school, back when in the Cretaceous era or whatever, the prehistoric era when the dinosaurs were still around. Yeah, I was an all-state jazz piano player, and I think that's a lot of why I like Western swing, for example. Because that's a lot of the common roots. Yeah, I love all those hearts going off like, thank you. I love all those hearts going off like fireworks over there. Whoever's doing that. I love piano, and I sent you what I sent you today, like that Billy Joel song, because I think that's one of the things we're looking at doing a side project is just me and the piano, some covers. So that should be coming pretty soon. So, because music is weird. I mean, the music industry is really weird right now, especially for country. Is probably like at the least. Country's the hardest to be discovered on, I'd say. Most competition on, like on streaming and things like that, because those of us that listen to country don't listen to Spotify as much as, say, people that listen, that mostly listen to, say, hip hop or rock or pop. So we're looking at different things, but and going back to being true to just being who I am. And that's always a thing for an artist is finding who you are as an artist, which is kind of difficult when you're very eclectic and like things. So just keep honing in on that. And the one I've always said, my voice is odd, so the voice is kind of the thing that ties it together sometimes, if nothing else does. But you can get away a little bit more, like playing like a outlaw country, like kind of rockin' song and a George Strait country ballad, and throwing a Western swing, like on the same album, like on this album. So that's kind of ties it all together, man.
If y'all haven't heard it yet, you need to go listen to James' version of Don Williams' hit Tulsa Time, because he and Buddy really swung it up, and it's a fun time.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It's I just love Western swing because it's like the best antidepressant in the world, and so we could definitely use a whole Western swing album here during COVID. Keep everybody happy.
Somebody said, lucky to discover you at CMA Fest a few years ago.
Oh, hey. Love my 3K. Hey, thanks. How you doing?
My mom said one more song before it shuts down. It is going to shut us down.
Oh, that's right.
That hard way. The other day, Terry McBride was about to play a song, and it shut us down.
All right. Well, what do y'all want to hear?
Why don't you play April May? Because I think it's you wrote it yourself. And it's such a cool concept. Did I ever tell you Kaylee Shore and I were in New York one trip for her album cycle, and I played it for her. And Kaylee's a really good songwriter and really into lyrics. And she thought it was the coolest concept. And I after that I really delved into the lyric, and it is really cool lyric. So why don't you play that?
Thank you, Katie Shore. I'm not very good at that, but that's my misshapen heart. That was very sweet. Well, thank you. Yeah, that to me, it just kind of came to me, and that's the best way to get songs, right? When you have the idea, and then you have to be able to craft it. So to me, it's a concept that's almost kind of like an old Bob Wills kind of concept, going back to Western swing of what's that song like? I know a gal lives on the hill. She won't kiss me, but her sister will, kind of thing. So without further ado, this goes out to country radio, and this was the 10th most played song by.
Sorry, somebody said my friend named her daughter April May.
After this song?
I don't know about that, but maybe.
Well, she might have a good endorsement deal coming up in a couple of years. So that's pretty awesome. Well, I'm just gonna assume it was because of the song too.
Go for it.
All right. Traveled the world, how fast some girls take my breath away. Lost said and done, there never was one that could make me stay. But I'm thinking April, May. Yeah, I'm thinking April, May. She's got a hold on this old heart that may never go away. And I want to start so long, so much to a June wedding day. No one's ever made me stay, but I'm thinking April, May. Yeah, I'm thinking April, May. No one in my past ever let love last past the break of day. No one said those three little words that I can't unsay. But I'm thinking April, May. Yeah, I'm thinking she's got a hold on this old heart that it never go away. And I want to sign some long so much to a June wedding day. No one's ever made me change, yeah, but I'm thinking na 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 na. Na 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 na. I want to start some long so much to a June wedding day. Yeah, but love works in mysterious ways. And she's all made up of those mysterious ways. She's got a hold on this old heart that ain't ever gonna change. And I want to start some long so much to a June wedding day. That's not about to change. Yeah, she said yes, and now we're picking out dates. She said June 6th, I don't think I can wait. Man, I'm thinking April, May. Yeah, I'm thinking April, May. Or maybe spring break. Yeah, I can hear those wedding bells in Fort Lauderdale. See a digging of seashells in a bridal veil. Thank you.
It's a great song. Tell everybody where they can check you out other than on Instagram.
That's right. Well, exactly. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, everything, but I think pretty much everything but farmersonly.com. We got a profile. I think we have a MySpace. I don't know if it's ever been updated, but because there's probably like 3 people on there, but it's all James Robert Webb. So all James Robert Webb all the time, or JRW. So all the handles on the socials are James Robert Webb, jamesrobertwebb.com. This is WEBB at the end, 2 B's. And for iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon Music, Deezer, Tidal, Napster, all that stuff, it's James Robert Webb. So we're trying to make it easy. May 1st. Mayday. Get this album now. Go pre-save it, please. Help us chart.
It's going to be all over the press because he's got a great publicist.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. Yes, that's right. We've got, at least, he may not be a good singer, but he's got a good publicist. That's right. And he's got a good hat. At least, That's right.
Great shout out to the what they call Midwest Okies.
Midwest Okies, absolutely. Thanks, guys, for the awesome hat. That's sweet.
All right, well, thanks for hanging out, and it was good to talk to you. And stay safe out there, and we'll be talking soon. But thanks to everybody who tuned in.
Yes, and I do want to say Danger Darwin has a good point. Always be careful because there's so many impersonators. It's crazy. Thank you to Instagram for finally giving me that blue check mark. So now it's easy to know that it's James Robert Webb with a check mark, and we're the same thing on Facebook. So But anybody else that doesn't have the check mark, it's probably like some human trafficker from India or somewhere. So look out.
I had a impersonator, and I don't know what was worse, having an impersonator or everybody texting you about having an impersonator.
It's definitely it's definitely the latter usually, because everybody for everybody that discovers this, like, oh my gosh, my friend's got an impersonator, somebody's pretending to be them, so it's like I want to help them, right? And but you don't realize it's like there's 45 people an hour saying, hey, it's like ring ring ring, turn my notifications off. But oh my gosh, it was crazy. So my daughter is on Instagram, and she had one of these guys follow her, and I said, I hope they don't like try to like come on to you like half of these others do, because I think it would be funny if she said, that's like that's my dad, like I'm not from Kentucky, why would you be trying to say I'm cute or whatever. It's crazy. We're trying to get money. I go to my dad to get money.
That's funny.
Yeah, but you got to be careful out there. But the blue check mark helps a little bit. But yeah, definitely follow me and message me, especially if you saw me on here. Let me know what you think. I'd love to talk to you. And for the next 2 months, well, until the album release, I'll probably still be not famous enough that I can still answer your messages personally.
Why not?
Ha ha.
Probably be me answering your messages.
After that, it'll be Zach. Yes. Exactly.
All right. See you, man.
Thank you all. Have a good one. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
See you, man. Thank you all. Have a good one. Have a great weekend. You too. Bye. Bye.
Woo. Okay. All right, here I am. Thanks for watching. Thanks everybody watching on Instagram as well. See y'all later.